Well, good morning and welcome to the John Quintero Show. We're here each and every Monday and Friday at 10 o'clock. And, we don't really have a time schedule as far as how long we go. When we get all our stuff in, we're done. So if you want to know what's going on in sports in San Diego, Southern California, great outlet a couple of times a week. And not sure exactly what we're going to do once the Padres get rolling. We may have a few more shows. We'll have to kind of wait and see how everything's going. But very happy to have you this morning. We got a lot to cover. We're going to be talking with Jay Paris, longtime sports writer, about the Padres, the Angels. He's making the trip to Tokyo with that Dodger Cub 2-game set over there, a couple of exhibition games as well. So we got a lot to get into as we get into another big sports weekend. We're going to get into Aztec basketball. USD won a tournament game yesterday in the West Coast Conference over Pacific. They play today against Loyola Marymount. San Diego FC going to be on the road this weekend without Chucky Lozano, out with a hamstring injury, taking on Real Salt Lake on Saturday night. So a lot to cover, and we'll give you the latest and greatest on our Padres. But before I get to Jay Paris, a couple of orders of business. Number one, we're on 3 platforms now. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, and we're on X. And I would really appreciate it if you folks would spread the word. We're trying to grow the channel. We're trying to do something unique and fun. Love interaction. All the years I was on radio, there was nobody, whether you liked the callers or didn't like the caller, there was nobody in the country that took more phone calls than I did from sports fans. Some good, some not so good, some middle of the road, but we're talking sports. And we want this to be a program like that, like you're sitting around a table at your local tavern talking ball, or sitting with a buddy at a ball game talking ball. That's the way I want this show to go. And like I mentioned, and I may have to apologize a little bit. We've got a longtime listener, a guy by the name of Pete Stewart, good guy. And I was pretty harsh on Pete the other day because he was criticizing my guest last week at Tim Neverett of the Dodgers. And I said, hey, look, I'm a sports fan. I'm a baseball fan. I live and breathe baseball. And we're going to put on different people. I mean, at some point in time, we'll get some managers on. We'll get some players on from other teams. Normally guys that have a relationship with San Diego. And, I want to educate people. I want to educate myself when I'm out trying to grow my sports knowledge. It's kind of like going to the ballpark. I used to say to my players and to my coach, hey, every day we come to the ballpark, we want to learn something new. We want to see a different situation. We want to see how to handle this or handle that. And that's what it's all about. So we're going to try to be unique. We're not going to just sit here with pom-poms and cheerlead. We're going to tell you what is going on. But Pete, I apologize to you. I came across a little harsh the other day because Tim Nevert's a longtime friend, busy man, calling Dodger games with Rick Monday in the spring. And he carved out some time for us the other day. But nonetheless, I love you, Pete. I appreciate all your loyalness to my program, and hopefully you'll continue to be a viewer. I want to talk a little bit about UCSD. Now, everybody knows that I've been doing their games the last couple of years. I did the Aztecs for many years on radio and TV. I did USD, and I was with USD and Bill Greer the year they went to the NCAA tournament and beat UConn, and then they eventually got beat by Western Kentucky in the second round. That was a great experience calling those games with Andy Mazer, the former Padre play-by-play announcer who's now back working in his hometown in Chicago. And that was a special group. But I got to tell you, starting with the head coach of UC San Diego, and that's a picture of me and Eric Olin last night after they clinched at least a tie for the Big West Championship. They cut down the nets last night at Lion Tree Arena. This man right here is up for the Mid-Major Coach of the Year, the Hugh Durham Award. He's going to be on some other lists. He's already the reigning Big West Coach of the Year from last year when they went 21-12 and 15-5. This year they're 17-2 and 27-4, and they're getting votes in both the AP and coaches poll. UCSD, folks, this man right here is an incredible human being. Put the coaching aside. This man is an incredible human being. He's been at UC San Diego for over 20 years, 12 years as head coach, but came in as an assistant under Bill Carr, who's now been hired by the university to be their general manager for NIL. And he was with Bill Carr and with Chris Carlson before he took a job outside of UC San Diego, and Chris now working with Mick Cronin in the administration side at UCLA. But Eric Olin, you're going to hear his name. He's going to be up for a lot of jobs. And Eric is going to have a very difficult decision because some university out there is going to offer him a big payday. And I know he wants to stay at UC San Diego. He's got a beautiful wife. He got two great daughters. They love coming to the games. And there aren't too many head coaches, folks, that you can talk to 20 minutes before a game and talk about, whether it's the game that night or went and saw a high school basketball player last night up in, Orange County or somewhere in San Diego. I mean, the guy's just a real guy. And you don't see that a lot with college coaches. And it really filters down to his coaching staff. Got a great coaching staff. And then the players are unbelievably fantastic. And one of the players I want to talk about right now, who I believe has earned the Big West Conference Player of the Year, is Aniwa Tate Jones. He's a guy that played at Hawaii Hilo. He's from Wellington, New Zealand. And Tate Jones has come in, and we're going to put his picture up here in a second. It was last night during the cutting of the nets. And Tate Jones, every game I go to, I get there at 5:30 for a 7:10 tip-off. And every night I get there, I go sit on the bench with Tate Jones, and we just talk. We talk about, the last game. We talk about the upcoming game. We talk about, his life in New Zealand. His family was there last night. They were nice enough to ask me to be in a picture with the family prior to the game. But this guy here, he played at Hawaii Hilo for 3 years, was all conference all 3 years, Division II. And he comes into UC San Diego a year ago. By the way, this guy's going to be a pro. Whether he's in the NBA or somewhere, he's going to be making a paycheck next year playing basketball. 6'6" slasher. He has shot more free throws, folks, than any player in Division I basketball this year. He knows how to get to the foul line. And he's just a great guy. But we talk about a variety of different things. He always comes up and gives me a hug and, hey, Coach, how you doing tonight? And he had a good ball game last night. He had 20 points. Tyler McGuy, one of their other outstanding seniors, he had 20 last night. They beat Long Beach State by 7. They had a 20-point-plus lead, but it kind of slipped away. But nonetheless, they get their 17th win, and they're one game ahead of UC Irvine with one game to play. Now, tomorrow night, Tate and the boys and Coach Olin and their staff, they'll be up at UC Davis. They win that, they win the conference outright. They've already gotten a bye to the semifinals of the Big West tournament next Friday over in Henderson, Nevada. But this young man right here, he's on some list. He's like in the top 10. Believe it or not, he's in the top 10 of the Ken Pom rankings for Player of the Year nationally, not just regionally. I'm talking nationally. What UC San Diego is doing right now is unbelievable. And I told Steve Quiz when we were walking out a couple of weeks ago, it was after they boat raced Hawaii by 39. And I looked at Steve as we were walking to the parking lot, and I go, did you ever think you and I calling UCSD basketball, we're going to be having to look at the net rankings and the Ken Pom ratings? I mean, this guy right here is just having an incredible year, averaging just under 20 a game. He's shooting about 59% from the field, and he plays lockdown defense. And the other thing that's amazing about this team, 5 of their top 6 players came from Division II. They're transfers from Division II basketball. The only true Division I guy coming out of high school was a kid that played at my high school, Chris Howell, who went to St. Mary's for 3 years, redshirted one of those years, came in this year as a junior, and is a 6'6", 195-pound lockdown defender and a guy that can play great defense, gets steals, gets assists, gets his points here and there. Not an offensive guy. They got a bunch of offensive players, but they play great defense. So Aniwa Tate Jones, whenever, and I would imagine he'll be at the conference tournament next week, I would imagine he'll be named the Big West Conference Player of the Year. If he doesn't, he's getting robbed. I can tell you that. But Hopefully they can win tomorrow night. Again, that game will be on national TV. My buddy Steve Quibb's going to call that game tomorrow night on the road with Ben Braun, the former Cal coach. And Coach Braun does a great job on games. And so they'll be on the call tomorrow night, 8 o'clock on ESPN2. We're going to get to the Aztecs, USD a little bit later. We got a lot of Padre news for you today. But right now, I want to head out to our hotline. A longtime friend and all-around great guy. He's the guy that started the holiday happy hour and has kept it going. We also garner food and clothing for some people that are less fortunate every year. And for you fans out there, just so you know the date, write the date down right now. It's the first Friday in December at the Leucadian, north end of Leucadia. This last year, Buddy Black was there, A.J. Preller was there, Rick Sutcliffe was there. In the past, Dave Roberts has been there, Wally Joyner, Mark Loretta, John Carney. We could go on and on. And joining me right now, the aforementioned Jay Paris. And Jay, welcome. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. We're just getting closer and closer to opening day. And like you, I'm a baseball guy. I can't wait, Coach.
That's going to be great. You know, everybody says spring training's too long. Well, it may be for the players, but it isn't for the fans because we enjoy seeing all these young kids play. I even enjoy the old split squad games. We don't have many of those like we once did. Padres had one the other day, but those split squad games, and, you know, Jay, in the years that you covered the Padres, I mean, you spent a lot of time over in Arizona. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. You're dog tired when you go home at night after being out in the fields for 10, 12 hours a day. But the boyish enthusiasm, you get out of your hotel bed and you head right back to the ballpark. Nothing better.
You know, I love it. You know what I love? Like you, I like the backfields. I like to see them taking the infield drills. And one thing that no longer is a tradition before a Major League Baseball game is watching infield. I love to used to go early and watch them take infield drills. They don't do that anymore on 162, but they do it in spring training. And you can see the guys, you can see them work. And, you know, you see the finished product during 9 innings, but it just fortifies how much work they do before the game.
Okay, I want to start with the Padres. Then we're going to get to your original hometown team, the Angels.
That's right.
And then we're going to talk about you going to Tokyo. I think that's going to be very interesting. But let's talk, and I'm sure you got a book signing over there because you're the first guy to, and I know there have been some books since, but you're the first guy to really get out on the ground floor of Shohei Ohtani. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Let's talk about our Padres right now. You know, everybody was bitching, moaning, and whining during the offseason about what the Padres didn't do.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, Jay, I think they got a pretty good ball club.
Yeah, we've lived through those days where they trotted out lineups where you knew they were overmatched. You know, I can remember years ago, Bud Black handing me his lineup card. And he says, "What do you think, Jay Bird?" I go, "Good luck with that, the Blackie." And he says, "Yeah, that's my loft lineup." I go, "Okay, loft and the launch angle." And I get it. He goes, "No, lack of freaking talent." And I clean that up for you. So he gave me his loft lineup, and they got beat 3-1. You know, it happens. But, you know, this Padre team, I know the Debbie Downers, you know, they didn't do much. And A.J. Preller was walking around like a rabbit with both his pockets out. You know, he had the rapid look, if you will. He didn't spend any money. He couldn't spend any money. So he kind of worked around the edges. And this is still a team with a $200 million payroll. Still a team of Fernando Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, King and Cease leading the rotation, Jackson Merrill in center. I mean, there's a lot there. And are they going to reel in the Dodgers? Probably not. But this is baseball. If the team with the most money spent won the world championship every year, the New York Yankees would have a lot more than 27 titles. I'll tell you that. So if baseball is going to be baseball, it's going to humble you. But the Padres got some stuff. They got some tools in the toolbox, and I can't wait to see how it all pans out.
You know, Jay, the signing the other day, and I've always thought this guy was a heck of a player. You know, he's not a guy that's going to hit a bunch of home runs, probably not going to hit a lot of doubles. I mean, he will hit a double here and there. But signing Jose Iglesias, I mean, I guess you'd have to call it an under-radar signing. But what's really interesting is you go back to 2022. he hit 293 with Colorado, and he couldn't find a major league job. And he goes with the Padres to AAA and is hitting well, opts out of his deal, doesn't find a suitor, opts back in, opts back out again, hit 317 and just under 30 games. Didn't have a job, and then last year the Mets signed him in a 90. He had 91 hits last year and hit 337, and he was a big part of that Mets ball club at 35 years of age. This guy can play third, short, second, and he's got some of the best hands in the game.
He is a plug and play guys. Those guys are indispensable, Coach, and the utility and the versatility, and especially on a team where you're counting money, towards the end of your roster. He's got a little spark. He's got the oh my God song, and he's a guy you need in a team. Everybody can't be businesslike. Everybody can't be a screwball, but you need a mix of guys. And I think it's like you said, it's a signing on the margins, which the Padres did a lot of this year. But he's going to see some significant playing time, and especially with Bogart coming back to short, they're hoping that works out. And there's so many moving parts in that infield, it seems like, with the Padres. But Jose is going to. I think he's going to be a fan favorite too. He's got some spark. He's got some energy. I think that was a good pickup by AJ.
I think it's going to be interesting how Mike Schultz navigates this, to be honest with you, because you would think Iglesias. I know he's 35. I don't know if he can play every day. He certainly can play against left-handed pitching, but this guy's hit against everybody. He's got over 1,300 hits in the big leagues, a 283 career hitter. And I'm just wondering, and we may see, I'm sure we will see it over 162. I would think he'd be playing second, and you might move Cronenworth back to first, and Arise may be the DH. There's some moving parts here with this ball club now.
Yeah, you always think we have too many, or a team has too many players, or there's a log jam. 6 months later, you're looking around and go, where are all those players, that surplus players? You're going to use everybody. It's a grind. And a guy like that you can just plug in anywhere, is he's going to win some ball games for you, as well as setting an example. This is like you said, a pro. He's been around. He knows how to have a long career in the majors. And that's what all the young kids are looking for. So, go to school on him, and let him get on base, and let the big boys drive him in.
That left field job, Terso Ornelas right now, he's kind of earning his playing time. He's hitting over 400 and showing some power. I'm not a big exit velocity guy,
right?
But his exit velocity has been really, really good. Jason Hayward doesn't have a hit yet. Connor Jones really hasn't swung the bat all that well. Oscar Gonzalez, I think, is making a run for a spot on this roster. But you just got to wonder if the Padres aren't going to necessarily go with Jason Hayward and Connor Joe because of the major league experience in that area.
Yeah, to start the season anyway. And like you said, there's been a lot of barrels been found by that young man's bat out in spring. Then again, you got to be careful falling in love with those spring numbers. As you know, Coach, the pitchers are working on stuff, and that ball will jump over there in Arizona. And you get back to sea level and you go, where the hell happened to that guy we saw over in Peoria? But great insurance. You're just stacking that thing. You're looking for depth, and you can never have too much depth. I don't know how much Hayward has left. That he had some time with the Dodgers last year. He's getting up there as well. Another great leader. You need the leadership in the clubhouse, and he's certainly a five-star guy in that regard. So, and him and Connor, you can't help but root for the local guy, but I think it might be a short leash. I think they're going to have to prove themselves. And, AJ just got his fingers crossed he can hit another homer like he did with Profar last year.
Well, the other situation is behind the plate. And I'll be honest with you, these guys are not swinging the bat. I would think Elias Diaz will eventually rise to the occasion. And if he could hit 260, you're going to be happy with that. But Camposano, haven't been impressed with him. Martin Maldonado got released by the worst team around last year in the White Sox. He was hitting 114. They let him go. A great catcher. And I think that was a good sign, not so much for his playing ability, but to spend some time with Ethan Salas, because this guy is one of the better catchers in baseball and has been, but he's 38 years of age, and maybe Father Time's caught up with him. I don't really see him making the ball club. Brent Sullivan, that catching spot to me is very, very thin, and it has to be a little bit concerning, I think, for the organization.
Yeah, and Preller kind of, pulled a rabbit out of the hat last couple of years, if you will, with Sanchez and a couple of years back, and Higgy last year, and Campusano, he was the guy, and I think it's a great illustration with how no matter how good that you are as a prospect or a can't miss guy, until you do it, you haven't done it. Until you're you're a suspect until when you're a prospect. You still got to prove yourself. That is one of the big holes, and you look at any team at any level, you want to be strong up the middle. And you have a question a catcher already. Bogart, you're hoping he can turn back the, father time a little bit, those hands, but his range isn't quite what it is. And you got the stud in center field and Jackson. So, 2 out of 3 of your up the middle is questionable. And that's going to tell the tale, really. You got to be strong up the middle, and the Padres, I know you can hit your way out of that if there's some defensive shortcomings, but that catching spot's kind of the red flag on the team, if you will, Coach.
And I know AJ, and he told me at the holiday party this year,
right,
when we were sitting there talking, and he asked me about what I thought about Bogarts. I go, well, I think he still can play shortstop. Just got to lose some weight. And he actually came in 10 pounds lighter. And I'm sure, not that I told AJ and AJ told Bogarts, but, that was something that I thought. He was getting a little bit big, and he missed some time last year, too.
Right, he did.
You're sitting around, you can ride the stationary bike all you want and do what you can. But sometimes you just put on weight during the season because you're eating late at night after ball games, and I totally understand that. But we talked about Ethan Salas that night. And, I said to AJ, I go, this kid, I really like this guy. And I went back to his very first big league at bat in spring training a couple of years ago. I said, man, I was sold on that kid when I saw him ground out to second base.
Right, yeah.
Last year, he went to Fort Wayne and hit 206. And I know his numbers got better towards the end of the year, but it was his first full year, Jay, of playing minor league baseball, where he was catching a high percentage of the time. The year before, he started out in rookie league, went to Elsinore, went to Fort Wayne. They, for some reason, stuck him in Double-A, which they wanted him to grow with Snell and Lesko. Well, those guys aren't even here anymore.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I think Salas is going to be one hell of a player. But because the Padres don't have anything really in the organization, and right now they're kind of scuffling to figure out who's going to be their 2 big league catchers, I don't want to see Salas get pulled up too early, because I think this guy, as he gains his man, I think he's going to actually be a pretty good hitter. He had a good Arizona Fall League, and again, I'm not going to get too excited about that, even though he hit 4 home runs. I think this guy could be really good, but you and I have been around a long time,
right,
and we've seen some guys get called up early in their career, and it hasn't gone well, and they never really materialized to be the player we thought they could be, or maybe what they thought they could be.
Mm-hmm. It's such a fine line, Coach, because baseball, of course, a game built around failure. So you have to see how a young man reacts to the failure. You almost, at some point during their climb up the ladder, you want them to go through a slump. You want them to scuffle. You want to see how they can react. But then you want to get them up there to get the reps and get the experience. I'm with you. You don't want to force feed these guys, because baseball is such a game of confidence, and you don't want to beat a guy down. I mean, we even saw it to a little degree when they brought Rizzo up. Remember that? And they kind of brought him up too early, and then gave up on him too early, and it can unravel it. It's hard to be the savior. It's hard to be the guy. There's so much on your shoulders already, and you hope he can grow a little. That's why you hope the stopgap they have this year can kind of hold the fort until the young man's ready, because that's such a critical position, and there's so much on you mentally as a catcher, the only guy facing everybody else. So hopefully he can get a little more seasoning down there. But the potential is there, and even a dopey sports writer like me can see
that. Pitching staff, Simon Pavetta, I think, answered some questions. Now you just got to figure out who's going to be your 5th guy. And, Kyle Hart, we haven't seen pitch yet. I think he is going to pitch today behind Yu Darvish, and weather permitting in Arizona. Darvish going to make his first start the spring, and Hart had been throwing on the backfields, and Darvish has been doing that as well. But I think Padres are in pretty good shape with the starters, and I think they've got enough of great arms in that bullpen to make things happen.
Yeah, and you said it. They're worried, not worried, but they're concerned about their 5th starter. That means you got 4 good ones. And if you got 4 good starters, you're usually going to be in some ball games. Now, will those 2 guys still be there, King and Cease? I know they've kicked the tires on moving those guys and each of them would bring back quite a haul to restock a farm system or even some major league ready guys. So, the first half of the season is going to be very telling for the Padres. If they're players, if they're in it, if they got a shot, maybe you don't move those guys, but 2 pending free agents, they don't want to be caught getting zipped for them. So I'd like King and I'd like Cease. I mean, those guys are gamers, and anytime those guys trot out there, that you've got a chance to win. And Darvish, toward the tail end of his career, still has 500 pitches he can throw you. So I think the pitching is going to be all right. And it's health. The big four, the 3 studs got to stay healthy: Bogarts, Tatis, and Manny, and they have to play to their contracts. And if they don't play to the contracts, the Padres don't have a chance. If they do, they have a real good chance to get in the playoffs. Are they going to reel in the Dodgers? Probably not. You need 80 wins, 85 wins, get in the playoffs, get invited to the dance, and ride the hot goalie, as they say in hockey, and see what happens.
I think, and I'm going to stand behind it, I think 3 teams come out of the National League West. I think Dodgers, Arizona, and Padres.
Yeah, the Diamondbacks really loaded up. It's going to be a fun race. And, I know everybody's watching the Dodgers, but keep an eye on Arizona, and Melvin will be a little bit better with the Giants. And, the Rockies have the best record in the Cactus League. How about that for Blackie? So the NL West is going to be fun this year, Coach.
Well, heck, if they win the Cactus League, they get to go over to Best Buy and get free TV.
Free TV, that's right. Blackie's been telling that story for years and getting the rookies every year on it. They want their TV, and then everybody just laughs at them. But before we leave the Padres, John, I think it's an embarrassment that John Seidler or somebody hasn't got behind a microphone and stood up behind a podium and introduced himself. That was over a month ago that he was named the control person. And I wouldn't know John Seidler if he walked in a room unless he was wearing a name tag. And the Padre fans deserve more than this. That was a rough offseason with that Hatfield and McCoy act. And it's settled, so we think. But until the owner, until the voice of the franchise introduces himself to the fans and says, here I am, here's what I want to do, and we're going to go for it, there's that mystery out there. And I just think Padre fans have been so loyal and packing that stadium unbelievably, and the prices aren't inexpensive, that Mr. Seidler needs to introduce himself a month after being anointed the man and less than a month before the first pitch. That's inexcusable. The baseball team's part of the public, part of the San Diego landscape, and Padre fans deserve to know who's pulling the big levers of their organization.
Well, they had Eric Grupner come out a couple of weeks ago. Okay?
Yeah, he doesn't have the right last name.
No, I understand
I
that.
know what you're saying.
In fairness to John Seidler right now, he was voted in unanimously to become the team chairman, but he hasn't officially taken over yet. They're supposed to be sometime in March. He's supposed to officially take over, but I'm with you.
You can get around that. You can get around
Eric Grupner that day. I wanted to hear from John Seidler.
Yeah, they sent him out there to fall on the hand grenade, which is fine, and he's being paid, well to do that. But a Seidler has to get up behind a microphone and get behind a podium and say all this stuff you heard about us moving or not being interested or not spending money is either true or it's hogwash. And I think it's hogwash, but you got to hear from the guy making the decisions. And I just think the Padre fans deserve that for their loyalty.
Maybe when they technically put Whiteout over Eric Katsenda on the website and they put in John Seidler, maybe we'll have that press conference.
Yeah, maybe, or we'll just have it over at the holiday happy hour and we'll invite him over there and see what happens.
Hey, everyone's invited. You know that.
You know that. All are welcome.
Hey, let's talk about the Angels. Now, you're a kid that grew up Stone's Throw. You used to ride your bike there and sneak in after the 7th inning. Jim Fregosi, Bobby Knopf, and that was the first big league game I ever saw. It was a 2-1 Angel win in the bottom of the 9th. They beat Gary Bell of the Cleveland Indians. Dean Chance lit the entire game. And, I was a big Angel fan because we didn't have a big league team until ’69. But, the Angels, man, 9 years in a row, Jay. 9 years in a row, they haven't been better than 500. How is that?
It's bad ownership, organization, just like any business. If you're not keen, if you're not smart, if you don't have a vision at the top, you're not going to do it. And you can sign the big names on occasion, which the Angels do, but that's really the tip of an iceberg. An organization is below the water. It's your scouting, it's your player development, it's how you draft, it's how you scout. That thing sticking out where you're signing big names, that's nice, but it's usually underneath. And just as an example, if another organization sent 5 scouts, the Angels would send 1. If another organization had 10 people in data, the Angels would have 2. I mean, it's just cheap on the bottom part and bad signings by an owner who made his money in marquee and billboards and he wanted to make a splash. He makes those splashes, but they're complete belly flops. I mean, from Pujols to Rendon's taking it to another level. These albatross contracts that are around them is unbelievable. And they lost 99 games last year. That was a franchise record. Not only did they lose the face of baseball, Shohei Ohtani, but they compounded that by losing 99 games. And, no team has a longer drought now, with the Tigers making the playoffs last year, than the Angels from being in the playoffs. It's been a long time. Mike Trout has never won a playoff game. They got swept the one year he was in there. So, they're moving stuff around, and they did spend some money this year, not on really a big name, but again, working the margins a little bit with some good everyday proven ball players. But Mike Trout has to stay healthy. The kids have to keep coming through. They definitely on a rebuild there. And, if they can eke out 72, 73 wins or something, probably be a pretty good year for them.
The thing I love Trout. Okay.
Yep.
I mean, Trout's an incredible guy, but he's a good guy too.
Yeah.
I mean,
what's crazy? He's 33 years old. You think of Mike Trout like he's with Kane, he is still only 33 years old. And hopefully, like you say, I like him too, and you like him, and he was good for baseball. But last 4 years, I think he's played over 82 games one time. And I know you're a 3-time MVP and 11-time All-Star, but your best ability is your availability, and it hasn't been there for Mike of late.
Well, he's moving to right field. Maybe that'll help. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to wait and see. But my question to you on this, and it's always great, we love Tony, and you and I both had a great relationship with T. And he played here 20 years. And I get, and there are a variety of reasons. I mean, he played high school ball in Long Beach. His family could get down to see him. Then he played at San Diego State, and Alicia went to San Diego State. And, they set up their roots here. Okay, I get that. Mike Trout's from Philadelphia.
Right.
And I'm looking at Trout right now. And with as bad as the Angels have been, and I know he's got a big contract, and you could move him if you really wanted to. I mean, I think people would like to take Trout. The injury factor obviously is there. But I got a 2-part question. Number one, why would Trout want to stay with the Angels? Mm-hmm. And why would the Angels want to keep Trout when they're so far away from being really competitive?
Well, I think, Mike, and I think it's a loyalty thing. And I think, too, you can't discount he has a $425 million contract, which was big now, but was really big when they gave it to him a few years back. He's a loyal cat, and he said time again, he'd rather win it with the Angels than go somewhere with on a better team and win it. Now, things change, and like you said, it would be tough to move that contract, but you can get creative. I think the Angels are in a tough spot here, Coach. They got that LA in front of their name, but that's about it. I mean, they need something to get some people to the ballparks. Mike Trout, you got to have one star. They've chased away most of them, or they don't produce. So I get it. He's an East Coast guy. You think he'd want to go back and play for the Yanks or somebody else, but I think maybe that's what makes him different, his loyalty and how he did sign on to go through the tough times. But it's you could have got a lot for him at some point. You certainly can now, but you could pick up some of that money. You could move him if you want. I just think the Angels are so desperate for fans and trying to keep that place filled up in Anaheim, in the shadow of 11 pro teams in LA and certainly in the shadow of the Dodgers. They got to have some reason for the guys to come to the ballpark. It's not going to be on your wins and losses, so you better have some names to get some fannies in the seats.
All right. Tell me about this upcoming trip to Tokyo. I'm sure it was, promoted because you want to go watch some baseball. Absolutely.
And, doing some Shohei Ohtani book events over there and going to the Cubs and Dodgers series, covering that for Forbes.com. I'm intrigued by the Japanese culture. The Shohei Ohtani book has just opened up so much for me personally, getting to know Japanese people, the Japanese culture, and just how popular baseball is over there. I mean, baseball is their national pastime, and their games are like college football games. They cheer, they chant, they sing songs. It's quite an experience, and I can't wait to get over there. I hope I can find my way around on that train system. I might end up in Mount Fuji, but I'll be aiming for the Tokyo Dome, and it's going to be exciting. To tell you the level of interest, the get-in seat for the last row in the top deck for those Dodger Cub games are $2,000. So if you want to go see Shohei in Japan, it's a $2,000 cover charge. They're playing some exhibition games against some Japanese teams. Those tickets are $500 to go to an exhibition game to watch the Dodgers. So that just illustrates how popular they are. And with Team Tokyo, the Dodgers, with all their Japanese players and the Cubs as well, I think it's going to be pretty electric, and I can't wait.
Now, I would think that you're getting a press pass, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not doing the 2,000. I'd be watching it at the pub around the street, but it definitely got a press pass and to make it all work.
That's going to be very interesting. I don't know if I can get up and be watching those games at 3 o'clock in the morning, but I would imagine after it's over, they'll start replaying it at about 7, I would imagine.
Oh, absolutely. And it's just such that Major League Baseball extending their brand, and, those games, those Dodger Padre games, those set record numbers in Japan. I mean, there were more people watching in Japan than were watching in America, which tells you a lot. And it was late when they were playing back then there. So, I mean, Shohei is just, it's a global sport now. And what he's done and what he continues to do, he's a cartoon character, what the numbers he puts up there. And you can't not watch him when he's on the field. And that's a pretty good draw for Major League Baseball.
Well, just a pub for your book here. It started out as a book way back when. Now it's turned into a novel.
Yeah, it's a novel now, and the world tour continues. I think the first book signing was the Daily Double Saloon at the Holiday Happy Hour in 2018, and I'm still milking it in 2025. So that doesn't reflect on me; it reflects on the power of Shohei Ohtani and what that name and what that player means.
Jay, how many times have you updated the book?
A couple times now. He keeps winning MVPs on me. I get a chapter out of it. So. Yeah, it started kind of his journey from, Tokyo to Anaheim, and then we looked at his rookie season, and then we had his chapter about his World Baseball Classic when he struck out Trout, to win that title, and then his MVP as well. So, the guy just keeps going. He could do this in the next 10 years, or he could not do it ever again. I just hope, and I think so, people realize how lucky we are to see this gentleman play, because it's going to be a long time before another cat like this comes down the pipeline.
How was the book sold in Japan?
Pretty well, real well. And we translated it, and there's a Japanese version, and my name written in Japanese is something I would never recognize. That's for sure. But he's and in Tokyo, I mean, just seeing pictures, he's on every billboard. He's on every bus stop.
What I heard.
Yeah, it's there's a reason why he can make $60-70 million off the field. There's a reason why you can defer all but $2 million if you're plane compensation, because what he means globally. It's he certainly doesn't belong to LA. He doesn't belong to America. He's a global icon. I mean, even the internet searches, even including all the soccer players and everything. Nobody gets the search more than Shohei Ohtani. And not only just how he plays, more how he plays, Coach, not the numbers, but that joy, that smile, that thinking about everybody else. I saw a clip of him of all the times he tips his cap before he gets into the batter's box. Of course, the catcher, the umpire, but he always makes contact with the opposing manager and tips his hat. And the reverence he faces the game. And when they go into a stadium, it's like walking into a cathedral for him. And, if he sees a loose chewing gum paper, he'll go over there and pick it up and put it in his pocket. I mean, he's just so into the game and so appreciative. And he's a great teammate. You can tell that. I mean, they're always, flicking his ear or lighting his shoe or doing something on him, which shows that you like him. And his English is getting better now. So don't say anything bad about him thinking he can't understand you.
Well, hey, safe travels, and we'll get
Yes,
you
sir.
back on when you get back on. I'm very interested to hear about your experiences over there. I've always kind of cherished Japanese baseball. They play the game the right way, and I think that's why you're seeing a lot of their players migrating to the big leagues. They're fundamentally sound and very diligent in their work habits.
They sure are. And on a personal note, it marks 80 years, almost the day, 1945, that my father was in Tokyo Bay for the surrender of World War II aboard the USS Colorado, which was tied to the USS Missouri, where the signing took place. So it took a while, but 80 years later, a Paris boy's going back to Tokyo.
Well, Big Jack Paris was a hell of a guy. He came to
That's
the
right.
happy holiday party.
Yeah, that's right. The old Navy, he touched a lot of lives.
He was a good man, and I'm glad I got to meet him and know him a little bit. Jay,
Thank you.
thanks so much. Safe
Okay.
travels, and thanks for all the great insight.
All right. Look forward to it. And thanks for having me, John. I always enjoy it.
You're welcome. There you
Yes, sir.
go. Jay Paris, a great guy, known Jay for many, many years, and does an incredible job of covering sports. And he's one of these guys. He likes to go to events, and he goes to Super Bowls, and he goes to World Series. He's out there doing a lot of stuff. Okay, let's get back to the Padres here. And again, we're going to take your questions, and we're going to get to our coach's mailbag a little bit later. But Padres, weather permitting today, they're going to be taking on the Milwaukee Brewers over in Phoenix, American Family Fields of Phoenix. And they put together a great complex over there. I remember going to Maryvale in the old days, man. You park there and kind of a rough area. You kind of wondered if your car was going to be there when you came out after the ball game. But Yu Darvish expected to pitch today, make his Cactus League debut, and he's been working on the backfields diligently. And I'm expecting a big year for the 39-year-old right-hander. Tomorrow, the Padres are going to be at Peoria Stadium taking on the Cleveland Guardians. Sunday, they're going to be over in Scottsdale taking on the Giants. Yesterday, Padres dropped an 8-2 ball game to Bruce Bochy and the Texas Rangers. There were some good moments in that game, though. Iggy Rosario, buying for a roster spot, actually played shortstop yesterday. I hit the first pitch he saw over the center field fence for a home run. Not having a great spring average-wise, hitting 192 right now. But Iggy Rosario, I don't know if he's going to make this opening day raw. I was kind of hoping. I like him. I think he's a real battler at the plate. I think he's a pretty good offensive player, not swinging for a high average right now. But I think that left field, I just think there are too many guys out there. Terso Ornelas having a great spring right now. Connor Joe, Jason Hayward, neither of those two guys are really swinging the bat all that well, even though Connor Joe's been getting on base at a pretty high clip. Oscar Gonzalez swinging the bat well. So we'll see what happens in left field. Terso Ornelas right now hitting 409, 1 for 3 yesterday. Oscar Gonzalez, 1 for 3 yesterday, had his third double. Jackson Merrill, 1 for 3, his second homer. Jackson's having a heck of a spring, hitting 375. You know the thing, and I thought this was brought up on the broadcast the other day. Jackson Merrill, most of the veterans, and he's a veteran now. He's not a rookie. They play their 3 or 4 innings, get their 2 or 3 at bats, and then they put their bag over their shoulder and they head to the clubhouse, take a shower, and get on with their day. Jackson Merrill is staying the entire game. He's not going to the clubhouse and getting out of there an hour before the game's over. He's staying and watching, and it was a good point. A lot of the guys that are getting the opportunity to play late in games are guys that he came up with in the minor leagues, and he's there to support his guys. So Jackson Merrill showing not only is he a really good teammate, he's also showing some loyalty, and he's showing that he wants to be a part of the Padres organization. And I think it's going to be imperative if he puts together anything close to the numbers he put together a year ago, they're going to have to go to work on a contract this offseason. I don't think they'll do anything before the season starts. Let him play and then get a deal done. And that would buy him out of, 3 years of arbitration, give him a salary for next year, and then buy him out of his 3 years of arbitration in years 4, 5, and 6 before he'd be able to hit the free agent market. But that's kind of where we're at. Dylan Cease yesterday, he was okay. I mean, he seemed to be fine with it. Mike Schultz seemed to be fine with it. Numbers wise, it wasn't great, but the wind was blowing 20 miles an hour out to right field. Marcus Semien got him for a home run. That ball, I don't know if you saw it. that ball took off like it was a jet plane. Yesterday, Cease 3 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, both earned a walk, 3 strikeouts, that home run. He's just getting his feet wet. Got a 4.76 ERA, but I'm not going to put a lot of stock in that. Logan Gillespie didn't have a great outing yesterday. His ERA so far 5.40. Jeremiah Estrada looked solid. An inning yesterday, doesn't have an ERA. Ron Marinaccio, kind of having a tough spring. And 4 1/3 his ERA right now is 8.31. Yesterday, 2/3 of an inning, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, a walk, a strikeout, gave up a homer. So the Padres sitting at 3-10. I want to mention Jose Iglesias again. And I wanted this guy to get called up a couple of years ago when he was in AAA because he was coming off a really nice year with the Colorado Rockies where he hit 293, and then he couldn't find a job. And the Padres gave him a job, and then he thought he might have a big league job when the Padres were going to bring him up, so he opted out, didn't get the call he was expecting, opted back in, then opted back out, but had a pretty good short stint down in El Paso. And this is the year they had, some other guy, Matt Carpenter, Nelson Cruz was on the ball club. But Jose Iglesias, 35 years of age, a 283 career hitter, hit 337 last year with the Mets, 4 homers, 26 RBIs, 91 hits on the year, and played a big role in that ball club. And I think he makes this team. I know he's on a minor league this guy will make the team. He's a good player. He knows how to play. Great teammate. Anybody you ever talk to about Jose Iglesias will sing his praise. This again, by the Padres and A.J. Preller and his staff of pro scouts. It's a hell of a signing. It's an under-radar signing. I mean, like last year, they had Donovan Solano, David Peralta, who's still looking for a job. I thought Peralta played pretty well. I mean, I think he'll get a job, but he's still working in his batting cage, working on his swing right now. He doesn't have a major league job. The Padres aren't going to sign him because they got a dearth of left fielders right now. But I thought he played great last year, Peralta. Padres 3-10 in the spring. Are you panicking yet? Mike Schild on the hot seat? I want to talk a little bit about the starting pitching. And again, we talked with Jay Perry. I think starting pitching is going to be just fine. You got to figure out if Matt Waldron is going to be the guy or Kyle Hart, who's supposed to pitch today behind you, Darvish, weather permitting. But going back to the week, Tuesday, remember they were off Monday. We had a show Monday. They were off Monday, and then they played a doubleheader on Tuesday. Nick Pivetta threw in one of the games, looked really sharp, I thought, against San Francisco. 2 2/3, no hits, a walk, 4 strikeouts. And I watched that game. He threw a breaking ball to my buddy out of Eastlake High School, Casey Schmidt, that buckled Casey for a strikeout looking. I mean, I don't care who it was. You weren't going to hit that pitch. I mean, he looked good. Also on Tuesday against the Cubs, Matt Waldron, kind of mixed results. 2 2/3 innings, 2 hits, 4 runs, 2 of them earned, 2 walks, a strikeout. He's made 3 starts, ERA at 3.52. Matt Waldron's doing what Matt Waldron does. He's going to give up a few runs here and there. There are going to be times where he shuts people out, and then he's going to give up, 3 or 4 runs and, 3 or 4 innings. He's a 5th starter. We're not asking him to be Dizzy Dean or Don Drysdale. And if he can, pitch to a 3.52 ERA during the regular season, I'm all for it. But I think right now he's probably won that spot, at least early on. We'll see what Kyle Hart's able to do. Wednesday, Michael King thought he would pitch well. Seemed like he had everything working pretty good. Good fastball, 2-seamer. No hits in 2 innings, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. That was his spring debut. And then yesterday, Cease, 3 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, a walk, 3 strikeouts, and that home run to Marcus Semien. I think things are going pretty well for the Padres. The big thing, other than Brian Hoeing, you haven't heard about any injuries right now, which is a good thing. Okay, I want to get back to college basketball. And I mentioned UC San Diego last night. They take down Long Beach State. They clinch at least a share of the Big West title. And then they can win it outright tomorrow night. ESPN2, Steve Quiz on the call with Ben Braun at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. I'm fired up, man. I love those 8 o'clock tip-off games. That way everything's calmed down. I can really sit and enjoy the game. And I'm pulling for the Tritons big time. Then they go to Henderson, Nevada next week. And they're already get a double bye, so they'll be in the conference semifinals. And we'll have to wait and see who they're going to play. But last night, just another great performance. They got a little shaky there for about a 6-minute mark in the second half, but they ended up cruising to a 70-63 victory over Long Beach State. Devin Askew, a great guard who had played at Kentucky, Texas, and Cal for Long Beach State last night. I mean, he's a great player. He had 29 points in a losing cause for the Beach. Aztecs. And I'm not a guy that's gonna sit here and make excuses for the Aztecs, but they didn't. They looked out of sorts Tuesday night. They really did. And I'm one of the. I don't want to hear about altitude. I don't want to hear about delayed flights. We've all been on them. I played in altitude when I was in college. I've had nights where I've had to sit on a tarmac for 3 or 4 hours, not even be able to get off the plane. But this Aztec basketball team is really good, I think. I mean, they're 20-8 and they're 13-6 in conference. They just looked out of sorts to me the other night. And I'm not going to say what happened to them in Wyoming. They won in Wyoming last Saturday night. Then they get ready to fly out in the plane. They got a mechanical issue. They can't fly out. They had to spend another night in Wyoming. They get back on Sunday. They practice Monday. They get back on a plane, go over to Vegas. And I know it's a short flight. And I don't want to take anything away from Vegas, because I thought Vegas played really well. And that was without their key point guard, Didon Thomas, who was out. And they played great. And the Aztecs couldn't get it done. But they looked just out of sorts. They looked immature on the basketball court. And I think when your body's tired, your mind gets a little tired, or vice versa. And they just didn't play well. Now they close out the regular season tomorrow night against Steve Alford and Nevada Wolfpack. That game's going to tip off at Viejas Arena at 7:30. I'm going to be going back and forth tomorrow night on television. And I think they got to win. They got to win. I was talking to Mark Ziegler last night. Mark was out covering the UC San Diego game, and he thinks they're in right now. I don't think that. I guess I'm on the side of, man, you got to keep winning. And I think if they can get to the conference finals, they'll probably get in. And I think reputation plays a big part in it, even though the committee will never say that. But right now, I don't think the Aztecs are in. We'll see how it goes. I hope they get in. It'd be great if UC San Diego and the Aztecs both got in. But right now, I don't see that. I think they got to keep winning and, roll off a win tomorrow night, win at least 2 games in the Mountain West Conference, get to 23 wins, and now we're 23-7 or 23-8. I think you're probably going to get in, even if you get beat, maybe even in the semifinals. But I don't see 4 teams from the Mountain West getting in. We're going to have to wait and see how everything shakes out. USD. This is going to be a very interesting watch for me, because this is on the administration a little bit right now. All these programs that are going to compete at the Division I level, they got to raise money. And USD last year lost like 5 or 6 of their players. They had some good players. Kevin Parrish, who went to SC. They've had guys transfer out. Wayne McKinney left USD to go to San Diego State. But Steve Lavin, it was announced the other day by the administration at USD that he will be back for year 4. They're 6-26, and that was with a win yesterday in the first round of the conference tournament. And, they won 2 conference games in the West Coast Conference. West Coast Conference is tough, man. I'll tell you what, you got St. Mary's, you got Gonzaga, you got USF, Santa Clara. Herb Sendick does a great job up there. Loyola Marymount is getting better, and we're going to find out about them today, because that's who USD is going to play in the second round. Yesterday, they beat Pacific, and Pacific's another school that used to have a great basketball program, and they're falling in hard times. I mean, they finished 9-24. USD outlasted them yesterday, 81-77. Tony Duckett, the freshman from Carlsbad, had a big ball game, 21 points, but he hit 4 free throws with 3 seconds to go. And Cody Cluett from San Marcos High, coming off that great game on senior night last week out at Jenny Craig Pavilion, 35. He followed it up with a 20-point ball game. And Steven Jamerson, 18 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists for a 6'10" forward. But they've got to keep these guys. And Mr. Massey, the athletic director out at USD, said Steve Lavin will be back, and they're working on things. Hey, you got to keep guys out at Alcala Park. I mean, Steve Lavin can't keep having to go out and recruit guys. You got to be able to keep some of your core guys. In UC San Diego, they're going to have the same issue. Everybody in the country is going to have this issue. And you got to figure out how to compete. And because of NIL, coaches aren't going to get 5 years to build a program now. I mean, in 5 years, you could have 4 different rosters over that 5 year period. Guys are coming and going. When I read the bios, when I'm getting ready to do UC San Diego games and I'm reading the bios of players on other teams, I got to like read deep because some of these guys have been to 3 or 4 schools. I mean, it's like Askew, the kid from Long Beach State last night. This is his 4th college. He started at Kentucky playing for John Calipari. I don't know why he left. He started 20 games his freshman year. Then he went to Texas, played in 30 games, and transferred to Cal. Had a couple of years at Cal where he was kind of banged up and then transferred to Long Beach State. But, I mean, what Devin Askew's done, a lot of guys are doing. They're either going to Division I, and then they go to a junior college, and they go to a couple of more Division I schools. It's crazy. But when I'm preparing for games, I like to know, the background on these guys. And man, it's tough to get ready because these guys are going to so many different schools. You're trying to get as much information on them. But I'm glad Steve Lavin's coming back. And the one thing I got to say, we got 3 Division I basketball programs here in San Diego. And all 3 head coaches are great guys. And all 3 guys have put together great staffs. And, I'd like to see USD pick it up because they do have a very proud basketball tradition out there. I'd like to see all 3 of these teams thrive. But USD, they've got to give a little more support to the basketball program. And now that Cindy Fisher, she won yesterday, the girls' game, they won. The women's, they won yesterday. They play today. And as soon as they get eliminated, she's out of a job because she's been let go after 20 years. They had a terrible year, and they decided to let her go and go a different direction. So later today, we got a couple of USD basketball games to check in. Okay. Last thing I want to get to, and then I want to get to Coach's Mailbag. We got the MLS franchise, San Diego FC. Last Saturday night, in front of a record crowd of over 35,000, in fact, 35,506. They played a 0-0 draw to St. Louis City SC. And they lost Chucky Lozano in that game to a hamstring in the 28th minute. Not going to play. Riding a stationary bike. No timetable from Mikey Veras when Lozano will be back playing. My take on that, be careful. Take your time. Take your time. But tomorrow night, they're going to be up in Salt Lake taking on Real Salt Lake at 6:30 up in Sandy, Utah. San Diego FC comes in 1-0-1, 4 points so far. Real Salt Lake, they're 1-1 right now, and they have 3 points. So a long haul in the MLS. Great crowd last week. Great crowd last week, and we'll report back to you on Monday how they fare against Real Salt Lake. Okay, let's get to Coach's Mailbag, and if we have any comments today, we'll start throwing those up on the board. Padres 1997. Ornelas must be the starting left fielder or DH. Exit velocity is off the charts and hitting to all fields. Well, as I mentioned, right now, Turso is hitting 409. And, I got to stand corrected. On Monday, I was talking about Turso, and I was thinking that he played in the Caribbean Series. It actually was his brother that played in the Caribbean Series. And a couple of our listeners will write in and remind me of that. So I thank you for that. But right now, Turso Ornelas making a big bid. 23 homers last year, hit 297 in AAA last year. Homegrown product. I like to reward the homegrown guys, but man, you got a lot of guys out there between Connor Joe, Jason Hayward, Eggy Rosario's getting some time out there, Oscar Gonzalez. I mean, when they say go to left field, man, you got a line of about 5 guys out there. But right now, I think he's winning a spot. I mean, he hasn't done anything to hurt himself, I can tell you that. So we'll see where that goes. All right, let's keep him rolling. Andrew, Front Wave Arena is a beautiful arena. Yes, it is. And I think with Front Wave Arena, I don't know what the actual seating capacity is. I keep hearing, 5,500, 6,000, 8,500. I think if you had a concert and you put chairs on the floor, yeah, probably. I've only been there once for the Sockers game. I'm going to be going up there a whole lot because I'll be calling starting on March 31st. I'll be calling the San Diego Strike Force games from Front Wave Arena. Looking Gino Gerbo and Coach Jeniser putting together another good quality roster together. They made a good run in the playoffs last year, came up a little bit short in the IFL. But if you haven't been to an arena football game, they're a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun to broadcast, quite frankly. And I've been doing this now since they came into existence. I think this will be my 6th year doing the games. Really enjoy doing them. They play March 31st. It's a Monday night. And then they play a bunch of Sunday games. And then I think they've got a Friday game. And but it's fun. And it's fun for the kids. And the other thing about going to their games, when they throw the football in the stands, an incomplete pass or extra point or field goal, you get to keep the football, which is kind of cool. I think that's really cool. But no, I like Front Wave Arena, and I'm looking forward to getting up there and moving around. Last time I went, it was the night the Sockers opened up, and it was really crowded. And, we got something once we got in the gate at our concession stand. We went right down, and I wanted to see Coach Salvaggio and Craig Childs and the boys before the game got kicked off. But it was great. And I think people are very happy with it. In fact, I talked to some people involved with Montgomery and Carlsbad last week in the basketball. They had the open division boys and girls championship games at Front Wave, and the response I got was very, very positive, that people really enjoyed going there. So that's a good one. So Andrew, that's a good one. Bill Dunkel, I'm new to your show and I love your show, Coach. Our knowledge, baseball and sports in general, is awesome. Keep up the great work. Bill, thank you very much. I very much appreciate that. I've always said between faith, family, and sports, it's always kept me on the right path. So thank you very much. I appreciate that a great deal. We got any other comments? We'll get to those. Here we go. Let's see. Who do you think will be the Padres starting 5th starter? I think right now, I guess it's Canis Lupus. I guess that's Canalupus. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. I think it'll be Matt Waldron right now. I haven't seen Kyle Hart. I don't know if Kyle Hart's going to be stretched out enough. Stephen Kolek, I don't know what they're going to do with him. With Brian Hoeing down, he may end up being the long man because he's pitched very, very well. Maybe they send him to AAA and continue to lengthen him out and make him a starter. Because at some point in time, whether it's Matt Waldron or Kyle Hart or Stephen Kolek, somebody's going to go down with have to miss a start here and there, hopefully only a start here and there. But you need about 8 guys. You need about 8 guys in your organization that can fill out a starting spot. And you're not going to ask them to go out there and throw up goose eggs for 5 innings. You'd like to get them through 5 innings where he can keep you in the ball game, and then your offense can take over and you turn it over to that dynamite bullpen. But I think right now, probably Matt Waldron. That's my take on that. Rich McGuire, I hope Coach Olin stays and recruits some replacements for the seniors at UC San Diego. Well, I'll tell you, Rich, and I know you were at the game sporting your Tritons jersey last night. I was talking with Coach Olin about 5:45 last night. And I had a conversation with him last Saturday night. And I came home and I wrote down the guys that they've got coming in and the guys that are coming back. They're going to be pretty good next year. I think they're going to be good. They're getting Jake Hall, the great player out of Carlsbad High School. I saw his career came to an end last night. They got beat in the state playoffs. They've got a dynamite guard over in Arizona that's committed and already signed. Norden Kapich, their starting forward, will be back next year. Chris Howell will be back next year. So you got 2 of your starters coming back. Camden McCormick is redshirt, and Aiden Burke will be another year and another better guy coming off the bench. You've got Cade Pendleton, a 6'10" player who's a stretch forward who can knock down the 3-pointer. Chris Cox, a guy that they're really counting on, actually broke his foot 2 days ago. And it's kind of weird. He broke his 1 foot last year, and so was going to redshirt, and then got healthy and broke his other foot. So that's a little bit of a concern. He's a 6'8" power forward. And, they got some guys redshirting that I think are going to be able to help. So they should be in pretty good shape. I think they're still probably, looking around. As a coach, you're always looking around, but I don't think the cupboard's going to be bare by any shape, way, or form. But I appreciate seeing you last night. Always great to chat. And I know you're getting geared up for Padres season. They didn't have Guath, but still, I really think they didn't look much better than Las Vegas, who was without three guys, including Thomas. No excuse, just a down year with a young team. I'll tell you what, if it's a down year and you're winning 20 games, I'll take that. And, the big thing with San Diego State, you got to keep all these. You got to keep Guath. Nick Boyd, I would imagine, he could play another year. And he's played well. He plays a little bit of fire. I like that. Miles Bird said he's coming back. You got Jared Coleman Jones and Pharaoh Compton. I think Jones is a senior, if I'm not mistaken. I think his eligibility's up. But Pharaoh Compton, I mean, you got some dudes that can play a little bit. And Miles Heide, as he's gotten more playing time, he's gotten better. BJ Davis has to become a little bit more consistent. But, I mean, it's a down year, and we're still talking about them being right there to get into the NCAA tournament. I think that's a credit to the players. I think it's a credit to the coaches. And, again, I'm putting it out there that I just thought they were out of sorts. I think they were tired, mentally and physically fatigued. I've taken that trip to Wyoming and called games. It's a pain in the ass. It really is. I mean, and I know they have a chance. They use a charter and they get to fly in, I think, to Laramie or maybe Cheyenne and then bus down. But I used to fly into, Denver and then have to get a rental car and go down there. And it's a real pain in the ass. And that arena, man, those fans are kind of ugly sometimes. They're a little bit ugly. All right, that's going to wrap it up. Hope you enjoy the program. We got a big weekend. We'll cover everything on Monday morning at 10 o'clock. Thanks for watching. Remember, please subscribe. We're trying to get this channel up and going. And we really appreciate it if you'd subscribe, like the program, comments. I always love comments. I love questions. And what we do is we look at them and then we'll put some of the comments on the program. Again, live on 3 platforms: YouTube, X at Coach Quintero 44, and Facebook at John Quintero. I hope everyone has a safe and happy and dry weekend. And we'll be back and reconvene on Monday morning at 10 a.m. Have a great weekend, everyone. And thanks again to Jay Paris for joining us on the program. Talk to you Monday. Bye-bye.